this story is the reason we connected.
Okay.
One day I'm sitting there with, her name is Dana, I'm sitting there with Dana, and she says, you know, I'm one of the few men that you will ever find in your life that will admit that all men are pigs.
Okay.
You got exactly the reaction I expected. And so I says, however, you have to take into consideration what kind of pig are you? You could be a cute, cuddly pig. You could be a razorback boar pig. Or you could be a piggy bank, which some women want. Yeah, the problem is we know which ones we are.
That's what we do. So it's fuck you if you intrude.
You hit that though. He said me and Max in the cut. We don't give two shits and we don't give a fuck.
That's what we do. Ain't shit to prove. We living life to the max.
To the max. To the max. I be smoking shit. It's a track.
Living life to the max,
to the max.
just like my podcast.
I actually ended up really liking that beat. The more we went on it. All right. Welcome back to another episode of Life to the Max. We got Curtis with us. You know what? Curtis is a good friend of Max, so I'm going to let Max start it off before the intro.
So rock and roll.
So Curtis came strolling in my house one day in 2019. I was kind of down a little bit, and my sister's friend, Patience, actually, shout out Patience.
Hold on, wait, I got a question. So Curtis just walks into your house
Well,
without
well,
knowing anyone?
no,
Just
I-
walked into a random house?
No. I'll cut in on this to make that work. Basically, Patience is the daughter of one of our clients in my wife's law firm.
Okay.
And we won that's the lawsuit that ended up helping us get the beach resort in Jamaica. And so Patience knew Max, and Patience asked, she knew I had spinal cord injury and everything. She said, is there any way you could go visit him? And I said, well, hell yes.
Yeah.
And so it wasn't random by any means, but so.
And we're both vets, so that brought us a little closer to. I mean, I'm only a year and a half. You're 24 years, but let's get into this podcast first, right? Okay, so
Right after Max's intro.
right after the intro,
Have at it.
I'm a disabled vet, and I'm paralyzed from the neck down, breathing through a machine. But that doesn't stop me from following my dreams and doing what I love to do. I don't have an excuse, and neither should you. Let's get into Curtis's exciting episode.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yes.
Shit, I'm damn near crying already because I understand so much of how that works, and I don't want to hijack the episode, but I'll say, to start out with, for me, spinal cord injury recovery is it's a lot physical, but it's about 98% mental. And when I met this man, I says, he can get there.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you have the brain power to fight through what it takes, you can get there. That's my mentor is, we'll talk about this later. My mentor is, and hopefully he calls while we're here, my mentor is Patrick Rummerfield. I'll give you the short story. He's 21 years old, drunk with a buddy, in a brand new Corvette, something like a 64. They decide to head to the highway and open it up, and then they hit the ditch before the highway. Car went over 3 times. They had to pry Patrick out. So cut to the chase. 17 years later, he ran the Ironman in Hawaii.
Wow.
He bills himself. He bills himself as the first fully recovered, functional spinal cord injury patient, which is true. My problem is I'm going to be number 2. That, I can't let him get
And
away
Max
with
will be
it.
number 3?
And bingo! You just nailed where I was going. Stop reading my mind. We can't let it stop us, and so that's kind of what got me here, and that's what.
You're skipping steps. Tell the people your story of your spinal cord injury.
Yeah, my story. Yeah, sure. It's simple. I'm an active skydiver. The military taught me that nasty habit. I was in a joint command that was an airborne command, and the reservists in the command had the option of they could jump or not, and if they raised their hand, they could do it. So I did. Duh. Now, Air Force kind of frowns on us leaving the airplane in flight, but I don't care about the Air Force. So anyway, I was on a relatively routine skydive. My son was on the load, and I came out of the airplane. Everything was normal, and I'm coming down. And so parachutes are designed to kind of open like they flutter open. You throw the pilot chute out. They're designed to flutter open, and we call what happens when they open is opening shock. And I tell people I had industrial strength opening shock. Turns out I sustained about 7.2 G's of force because you're attached at the shoulders. My head whipped forward, and that created edema in the spinal, swelling in the spinal cord.
Wow.
I was actually paralyzed under canopy.
Wow.
And I'm looking, my arms were broken. I thought they were just sort of broken. And I'm looking, underneath me is the Fox River, and there's a dam. On the other side of the dam is all the rushing water. We had lost another skydiver there about a week before in a power paraglider accident. The engine gave out. I'm looking down. Now I'm a scuba instructor. I was before. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at the water. I says, I don't know with what's going on if I can survive that. And so I'm sitting there go, okay. Fortunately for me, my parachute took up a little right turn, ended up in a tree. People on the load knew that I was there. That's how it worked in skydiving.
So you're paralyzed, like neck down?
Well, apparently, at this point, I knew my arm. Well, when your parachute first opens, one of the first things you do is you go up to the parachutes are packed and stowed in what they stow in brakes. So you pull these two toggles, which are the steering toggles, and I literally tried to get this left arm up to get to the toggle and pull it. It's good I didn't, because once you do it, you move faster. So as far I don't know what my
paralyzed in a parachute.
Yeah, I don't even know what my legs
just floating.
Well,
to earth.
I couldn't feel my legs. So the bottom line is I ended up in a tree. The funny part was
luckily you ended up in a tree.
Well, they train you tree landings. Okay, we even learned tree landings in the military, but basically a tree landing. The object is you spread eagle to try not to get hung up in all the branches, which I tried. But that's where I didn't even know what my legs were like at that point. But anyway, got in the tree, team of people. My son was actually on the search team because he was also on the load. And so eventually they got to me. Now, the guy who was running the drop zone for a while was a dear friend. He did maintenance on my airplanes for a while. His name is Donovan. Donovan saved my life. It was funny because the other guy, Andre, who another parachutist who was out there with them, they found me in the tree. Now we have a release. You pull this one handle, it releases the main canopy. So I'm way up in the tree. And Donovan, now I think this is ironic. Donovan went to school to learn, he was an arborist. He knows, not an arborist, but basically he's a plant fellow. So he's hugging the tree. Andre's climbing on his shoulders to reach up to my cutaway. He gets up there and pulls it off. Now I come down. I take them both down to the ground. And so, okay. Now, at that point, I'm sure I wasn't breathing well. because Donovan's a smart guy. He's been in the business for his whole life, and he had an ambi bag. He starts resuscitation with the ambi bag, and some guys show up with a four-wheeler, carry me up to the drop zone, and I then engaged in what I call my $35,000 helicopter ride. That was off to Good Sam Hospital. That was the first place I ended up. And the interesting thing is my dear friend, who's my doctor, Dr. Anthony Bellata, I have to put his name out there. Dr. Bellata is also a designated medical examiner for pilots. So if you, in your pilot's license, you need your medical, you go see Dr. B.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. B got to the hospital before my wife did.
Wow.
You know, so how many doctors are in? How's that for a house call?
Wow.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so.
That's great.
So anyway, that's a short story for me getting to how I got there. And then, of course, that's when the journey began.
So let's talk about the journey.
Absolutely.
So, you're floating in the air.
Mm-hmm.
You're in the tree. When you were in the tree, were you conscious? Did
No.
you see?
No, at that
anything,
point,
or were you out?
I think I probably went out just before that because I, like I said, I remember seeing the dam.
Yeah.
I remember the turn on the parachute, but then after that, I don't remember anything.
Do you?
I don't know if I went out under parachute at that point, but I certainly was out by the time they got me off the ground.
So, were you induced into a coma?
No, fortunately not. Yeah, that didn't happen.
It's okay. So, when you got to the hospital and you finally regained consciousness, what were you feeling? Like, obviously life was turned upside down. So.
Oh yeah, well she got there finally, and the interesting part now, I got to throw in all the what I call the comical part of the whole thing. This is fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, I got to the hospital. We learn in SCI world to be very, not cynical, very cautious with what some medical people will say. There was a nurse in that first hospital. It was shift change. And during shift change, she was telling the oncoming nurse, don't worry about him, he's paralyzed. My wife heard that and blew up.
Good.
She ran and grabbed the doctor, says, get her out of here, and I don't want her anywhere near him, because I was conscious enough to hear that shit.
Yeah.
Sorry. I guess we can do that in this
No,
podcast.
you
We can say
definitely
what
can.
Where's
Especially
Joe
in
Rogan?
this
I can say what I
nation,
want.
yeah.
Yeah, you can,
So in any event, you get the idea that, some people just don't get it. Well, one of the things, Dr. Bellata was instrumental in stuff, and this is important for anybody in the community to know. There apparently is some kind of an injection. It's a steroid injection. Now, Dr. B not only is a good medical doctor, he teaches emergency room medicine. And he basically pressured the doctor, you have to give him that injection because it's important. And in the old days, they didn't do it. And so this doctor resisted. Dr. B said, give it to him. So I think that has a lot to do with my recovery, because that injection, you're in bad shape, but you need to get that swelling down, whatever it
the
takes.
scar tissue.
All of the above.
Right, the scar tissue from the spinal cord injury. Yeah.
Right. He's done his own work too.
I mean, yeah, you have to.
Oh, yes, sir.
I mean, the SCI community is so niche. There's everybody knows everybody. If you're
These days,
a
it's
part
getting better on
of
that.
the
Yeah.
group. But what year did this happen?
This is 2014.
This happened in 2014.
Right.
A doctor said, "Who cares? He's paralyzed."
Well, that was a nurse. I won't say the
Not a
doctor. The
doctor,
doc
a
was
nurse.
okay, but
A nurse said
Yeah.
that.
yeah. wasn't who cares. She just said, don't worry about him. He's paralyzed.
Paralyzed.
I don't know exactly what she meant by that. Maybe you don't have to work so hard. I don't know.
Yeah, but even
It doesn't
even in
matter.
that case, that's, how do I sound if I went up to the nurse that was clocking in for Max and I'm like, hey, he's paralyzed neck down. He'll be in bed all day.
Exactly.
Don't worry about him.
Right. That's kind of how that felt. Oh, and by the way, in the thing about being conscious, you laugh. I got to throw these plugs in. I made a request of my wife. I tried my damnedest. I wanted to stand up, and I got in a big fight with my son-in-law. Help me get up, stand up. All I wanted to do at that point is stand up. Mm-hmm. And they, of course, they wouldn't let me, which is fair. I understand.
What spinal cord injury did you have?
Well, it's C3 and 4. They call it edema, swelling of the spinal cord. And then I already had, basically a little bit of obstruction in the air. So basically, the interior core of the spine kind of constantly presses against the spinal cord. And so, and from a medical standpoint, they reduce it to get you better, but as you go on, it's still there. Doesn't go away ever.
So since we're talking about your first time in the hospital and what was your initial thoughts dealing with this new situation, and what are your thoughts now?
I'm trying to be polite how I say it, but it was like F me.
You don't have to be
What do I-
polite. You don't have to be
It was
polite.
basically fuck me. What do I do? And so, but beyond that, I guess I can honestly say my initial thoughts. Well, mainly not so much because I wasn't that coherent in Good Sam. When I moved on to RIC, where they have a lot of spinal cord patients, where they have all the equipment that you need, and so in the course of that, I says, I'm going to make it through this.
RIC Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago out
Right.
in Streeterville.
Well, this one was downtown, but I know they have a lot of branches.
No, I know that I stayed at the 7th floor.
There you go.
7th floor RIC. I
Oh,
know
yeah.
what you're talking about.
There you go.
Got you. Shout out to RIC.
So anyway, through the experience at RIC, I says, well, basically, I got to fight my way through this, and I'm not going to let it get me down. So there it is. There was
So-
one other point. I'll get to it.
So, when you were in the ICU, how?
I was not. With the interesting thing, I don't think I was ever. Well, I probably was in ICAI. I don't even know. I wasn't present to where I was at the point. But when I got, so that was a Good Sam. From Good Sam, I went on to
Well, how long were you at Good
RML.
Sam?
I was only there. Well, I don't think I was there more than a few days because they moved me to RML in Hinsdale. And RML's specialty is removing the ventilators. So I got through that successfully.
So you were on a ventilator.
Yeah, at the beginning, yeah. So go to RML. Now I don't know if you'll call it creepy part, was RML. My father was there before he passed away.
Wow.
I was like, ooh.
That's where my dad was.
Yeah, so anyway.
RML, they specialize in weaning off the vent. They also
Exactly.
specialize in skincare as well. They're very, very good. So I know exactly what you're talking about.
There you go.
Then
Good.
you moved on to Rehabilitation Institute of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do you remember the therapist that really got you in gear, or what gave you the motivation to start saying, instead of fuck me, fuck this, you know what, fuck you, I'm gonna get through this.
Well, perhaps in a kind of it's a fascinating question given the circumstances, is I got to RIC. They have some very good therapists. I can't remember the names of any of them. But as you know, when you're in the military, and particularly if you're in special operations, you only think of mission accomplishment. You think of, here's the end game, and that's where I'm going. I found that the RIC, there were a lot of therapists there were kind of like, oh, well, we'll work with you as much as you can get. I was all in mental attitude. So every time they kind of, especially the speech therapist, I had nothing but trouble with. I says, you know what? You ain't in my game. I don't want to play your game. So RIC didn't impress me, even though they're known for this.
Yeah, best hospital in the world for spinal cord injury. So they say, because Christopher
Right,
Reeves
well-
always went there. In
Well, now the one,
2000s.
I'll interrupt a little bit. The one that is Kennedy Krieger, the International Institute for Spinal Cord Injury, is at Kennedy Krieger Hospital in Baltimore. I went there every 90 days for a while, and basically what I loved is therapists, doctors, and everybody get in there. I'm in for 100% recovery because that's where Patrick Rummerfield was, and he was actually for a few years their patient advocate. So Kennedy Krieger, was exactly what I was looking for.
I want to know, like, the vigor and, like, the strength of, like, what you did. What was your routine? What was your food? What did you eat?
Okay, well,
what
I
was your meditation?
I was going
everything?
through the regular routine. I understand. I was going through the regular routine of PT, OT, and all that. And in answer to your question, I think what really kicked me in my ass was Patrick Rummerfield. When I was laying in bed at RAC, it was my wife Dana at the time who found Patrick on the internet, the interweb. She found Patrick, and he's got a book called Green Bananas. And so she basically read the book to me while I was in bed. And to hear his story, I mean, the man, he's got the land speed record in an electric car. He's walked the Gobi Desert, and he some kind of a thing they do there. And he, like I said, he ran the Ironman in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't win it, but he ran it. Yeah, and so basically the answer is Patrick is my motivator, and that's what got me basically saying this isn't the end.
It's amazing, right? One person can just kick you into gear. That's for me. When I was when I got paralyzed, I said the same thing. Fuck me. What am I gonna do? Like it's literally written in my book that I'm writing right now.
Good on you, yeah.
Yeah.
This is not rude, I don't think. Is there a chance there's another
no problem.
brother
No
sitting
problem.
over there?
No problem.
I'm enjoying this too much.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what it's like. You just you're in a really, really bad space. Now, in your case, I know that you do have good family around you, and if there's one of your family and your friends.
Yeah. Well, it was tough for me because I was in young love too. I had young love. I had a girlfriend at the time. And,
wow, what a bad time, yeah.
Yeah, what a bad time, man. And I was in love with her, man. And
yikes.
I treated her bad sometimes, but I didn't treat her terrible, but my life is turned upside down, honestly. So it was just really hard on her, and she said she wanted to get married to me 2 weeks before she left me, and she left me over a text message on the phone, and it was on Memorial Day.
Let me ask you, when all that was going on, so you had this girlfriend, potential wife, and she lost her. Was it basically you attribute it to the injury and your recovery? She wasn't up for it.
No, she was, man. She was like my rock. She really was. She
At the
was
time.
there.
Okay.
She was there. She was sleeping on a cot just so I have someone in the room with me every other day. You
Right,
know?
okay.
And she would drive from Elgin to Chicago. She was a real. She was an awesome person, but I think in retrospect, she was thinking oh my God, this is my future. You know what I mean? am I really
is this what
gonna
I wanna
commit?
do?
Am I really going to commit, or am I going to do something else?
Right.
And to be honest with you, I don't like the way she left, but I probably would have left too, because I mean, we're not married. We're just getting into our 20s. We dated for 8 months, and I was in the military, so I didn't even see her that much anyways. But I was in love with her, and it was young love. And young love hurts the most,
Oh, yeah. Well,
especially if you're dying on
well,
it.
yeah, my heart really goes out to you on that, Max, because I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to waste time with the podcast now. My drama. My wife was also my rock. She stuck through a lot. She did a lot to help me in recovery. But at the point, I call it when she lost her sense of humor, she basically said, this is what's important for people in the community to know. I know there's a number of people in the community through some Facebook action I've seen that have had similar situations where their caretakers basically abandoned them. And my wife, can't remember who she was talking to, said something to the effect of, I wonder if after 6 years of being a caretaker for an SCI patient, I wonder if something happens to somebody there. And so fast forward, we're in the middle of a really ugly divorce. So she took care of me, and I appreciate the time she spent taking care of me. But I guess she
I mean, Curtis, it happens all the time for
Yeah.
people who are disabled because
Right.
it's either when you're young, and when you're young, they want to live their lives. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? They want to go out.
They wanna do their thing, yeah.
This is for young people. Now, for people who have been married for 15 years, I wouldn't expect that person to leave. I really wouldn't. If you had a happy marriage, But
I thought we did, but yeah.
But for young people,
Yeah, I
like
understand.
I want to
Yeah.
say a story about this guy Mike Droder. He's a real inspiration, Mike Droder.
Prosit.
Brazil. This guy Mike Droder, he went to Hawaii and he asked his girlfriend to marry him, basically. And after that happened, he dove into the ocean and broke his neck. Fast forward 2 days later, when he wakes up in the hospital, he asks, "Are you still going to marry me?" And she says, "Of course, I'm going to still marry you, And then
I think you laughed because you thought she was going to say no.
yeah,
that's curious.
And they were in love, right? And she was his rock. She was always there. This and that. Turns out she was cheating on him with his best friend for 18 months.
Us poor GIs go through these stories all the time, Dear John letters and everything. Anyway,
Yeah.
I'm sure you're in this camp. I will never figure out women. It's
Me neither.
impossible. I believe they have a book that their mothers give them. And it's got all this stuff in there on how to be good and how to be shitty. And so the man that gets a hold of a copy of that book will be the richest man in the world.
That's funny.
I believe it. Yeah.
Save yourself a whole lot of stress when you just don't try to understand.
But let's get back to your recovery, man, because that's the real inspiration here. You were paralyzed from the neck down, and now you're moving your hands, walking, drinking a beer right in front of me. I'm kind of jealous in a way. No, I'm just kidding.
We'll get there.
I'm just messing with you.
Well, that's your new PT.
So-
That's more like OT, but
It's like, yeah, occupational therapy right there, right? No, so when you are, I remember in 2019, you said get on the bike every single day. Get on the future electric stimulation bike every single day.
as often as you can. Yeah.
As often as you can, because you said that's what Patrick Rummerfield did, right?
Well, I have to give credit to Pat. Pat fundamentally invented the stim bike. He hasn't gotten any credit for it, any money for it, but the way it was is that in his recovery, for those of the old timers out there, you might remember the old exercise bicycle.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of looked clunky. So, and it actually had a motor on it. And his dad slapped Patrick on that thing and forgot him. So he was on it for like about 3 hours straight. But now that particular machine did not have the stimulator pads. It just normal exercise. But basically, you know, the motto at Kennedy Krieger is hope in motion. So that constant motion, 3 hours of it, whatever, is a lot of what got him coming back. And then, of course, the guy's a rock. I mean, he in the book, he talks about when he first started running, how many times he fell on his face, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah. Anyway, I'll let you pick it up from there.
I'll definitely give it a read. You said Green Bananas is the name of the book?
Green Bananas.
Green Bananas.
If you have now, you should be able to order it on his webpage, but he said he kind of ran out of copies. But one way or another, I'll get a copy.
And this is Patrick?
Patrick Rummerfield.
Is he local?
No, he's in St. Louis. Anyway.
If you could motivate him,
well,
to
I will.
This table one
We
day.
can fly him
it
out
will.
here.
It's going to happen.
We'll fly him out
One
here.
way. Well, it will get him up. Anyway, Patrick. Basically, what was I going to say? He's in St. Louis, and you know he's also a big thing on advocacy for us. So there's no problem. It's just a logistics issue, and military people know logistics. We can make that happen, even if we have to remote him in. But he'll do it.
Nice.
I'm hoping he calls while we're here, but if he doesn't, I'll kick him in the ass and make it happen. Or I'll go down and drag his ass back here.
Nice.
Do you, so this happened in 2014. When can you confidently say you walked again?
Well, I was in RIC for no more than 8 weeks, 6 or 8 weeks. I got frustrated. I said, I don't want to be here. Guy that was there with me also with spinal cord injury from just before he got married, he got on one of those riding bulls, fell off. There went his neck, and he died a little later. So it's like, it ain't happening to me. So anyway, what was my point?
You probably didn't like RIC, so you wanted
I
to
did
go
not.
to
I did.
Krieger.
Right. So anyway, while I was there, it was like that's what motivated me to, you know, basically separate from all the negativity. I can't, you know, that's these days particularly negative. You know, if anybody remembers the old movie Kelly's Heroes, you're gonna have to write that one down.
I got a whole list coming from you.
Well, you're gonna like this. Kelly's Heroes. Donald Sutherland plays the role of a tank commander. He basically long blonde hair, looks like a hippie, and his whole thing throughout the movie. What's with all negativity, man? What's with that negativity, man? No. And throughout the movie. So anyway, that's Kelly's Heroes, and so.
That's kind of the same energy I bring to Max, but not in the hippie version.
Yeah,
Well, it doesn't matter.
Sounds a little familiar. Long blonde hair, right?
Yeah.
A little familiar.
Yeah, but Max brings the negativity every morning. As soon as he wakes up, he likes shitting on people for entertainment.
Why so negative, man? You gotta watch the movie. You'll see. And the nickname for Donald in the movie is Oddball.
Oddball.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
what's the Hunger Games? You know the guy who was the leader in Hunger Games.
Yeah.
That's Donald Sutherland.
Oh, okay.
It's an old Donald Sutherland.
Nice,
so
nice.
I knew I'd remember it.
Nice.
See, this 70-year-old Bane is not bad.
Yeah.
We keep working with it.
Man,
So-
70 years. So how long were you paralyzed?
like so you went to Baltimore and I'm guessing you did your therapy at home, and when can you confidently say from 2014 that you were able to walk again?
Well, from 2004 14. I was walking easily in the early 15. I was at
1 year.
I was at RAC for about 6 or 8 weeks. I said, "Get me out of here." They didn't want to let me go. I says, "No, I've had enough." So there was a gentleman at RIC, a doctor who did research, and he hooked me up with a research study, which I recommend to everybody. If you got a CI, anybody in the neighborhood doing research studies on the subject, do it, even if it's hard. He put me on this hanging harness treadmill affair where you have 2 physical therapists working your legs. I did that a dozen times. I puked up a bunch of orange juice once. Therapist job. But anyway, after that, that's what my wife credits to getting me to walk. So I was walking out of RIC probably certainly within 3 months I was walking.
3 months.
You were walking out of RAC, and you were on a ventilator 3 months ago, paralyzed from the neck down, hanging in a tree.
Well, you nailed it. That's
And
the
you
short
didn't have an excuse.
Well, that's true.
You hear that, people? He didn't have an excuse. Neither should you.
Bingo.
Do you hear that?
I like that. I'm gonna remember that one. Uh-oh, who's the blonde? Teasing me here.
We got a slideshow going for everybody who's listening in their cars.
You know, I knew I shouldn't have put this TV on for the slideshow because I thought it'd be distracting. But Max just got an 85-inch TV, fellas. I had to turn it on
I'm
for
thoroughly impressed.
the decor.
Yeah. So Curtis, talk to me about Jamaica. So you win this suit, right? You settle in it. You want to make this resort in Jamaica. You like Jamaica a lot. That's
yeah.
what you told me in 2019. You're like, yeah, I'm gonna bring you to Jamaica. That's what.
Bingo. Now I know why you keep coming back to that. It's no problem. Well, but now you're giving me a challenge. Last thing you want to do is challenge a special operator, but we'll do it. That's why I told my wife, if she wants to divorce me, you're trying to divorce a special operations warrior. Do you really think that's a good idea?
That's hilarious.
So anyway, I'll answer your question. Yes, it's going to happen. I don't know how it will turn out with the resort, but when we built the resort, it's 100% ADA compliant.
Wow.
Ramps, nice easy ride, like if you got a power chair, but even a regular wheelchair, nice easy ride into every room. Now, of course, second floor is a different story, but
No pun intended.
yeah, well done. Like you. Way to go, Eric. I said I'll never forget your name. My son's name, Eric.
All right.
But anyway,
Hopefully with a C, not with a K.
yeah.
Eric?
No, it's with a C. It's with a C.
Nice.
So anyway, well said. We do that Curtis all the time, and a lot of time people want to make a K on it. But anyway, forget that. Anyway, easy ramps into the restaurant, and we even have a ramp into the beach.
Where's this resort?
It's in Negril, Jamaica. Well, we'll have to do the plug now.
Oh, yeah.
it's called-
Wow. Like a year ago, Donna brought this resort up. You're totally bringing back memories.
Bingo. So anyway, it's called, so here's time.
We still have your coins.
It's bingo. That's
Yeah, we still got 'em.
They're each worth a beer.
Nice.
They're worth a drink. It's a
Nice.
free drink.
Well,
But
we'll
anyway,
return the favor.
so anyway, it's called Blue Skies Beach Resort. It's in Negril, Jamaica, right smack in the middle of 7 Mile Beach, which is famous. It's within walking distance, chair distance, whatever, of reggae every night. So if you want some live reggae every night, you can get there. So regardless of how it turns out, I just sent a response to my lawyers last night with regard to basically I was offered a settlement proposal, which isn't acceptable, but depending on how it plays out, I told them I want to maintain an interest in the resort one way or another. If she wants to get out of it, I'll go back and run it. And one of the things, to throw it out there, to follow up on some of the school of thought that Max is going. Since my injury, I've done 3 tandem skydives, which people would think, what, are you fucking crazy? You got paralyzed in a parachute. Are you an idiot? Well, maybe I am. But anyway, one of those was with my son, who was a tandem instructor at the time. So that was fine. I've done 3. And I've flown right seat in an airplane 2 times. Besides, I do drive. So, and I've done about a dozen scuba dives at this point.
Wow.
So,
Hey man, you're like a walking inspiration, man. You're like right under Patrick Rummerfield.
well, I know we're that's the SCI challenge of the day. All right, Patrick, you're number 1. Screw you. I'm
60
number 2.
years old, just recovered from paralysis. Fuck it. I'm going to go skydiving a few times. I'm going to get in a plane. I'm going to go scuba diving.
And by the way, I have to jump forward a little bit. I'm coming back. We call it, in the skydiving world, we call it a recurrency jump. When you've been off for a while. I'm off for almost 8 years. And last year I thought I was ready for my recurrency jump, but I'm not quite there. My plan is to do 2 or 3 sessions in the vertical wind tunnel. There's one right in Naperville, another one in Chicago. And so I'll do that for practice, just to see. I don't want to get bogged down the deal, but in skydiving, you have to be able to maneuver your body enough to turn left, roll over, and whatever. And I truly think I'm there. And certainly excuse me, I would be shooting for this July 7th, because July 7th is my anniversary of my injury, except the only thing that'll slow that down is I need about $10,000 in gear. If I could get a sponsor, it'd be great. But anyway, because I need I need a different. Well, the reason for my injury is stupidity, in a way. In skydiving, we like to downsize the size of our canopy. I was jumping about 140 square foot canopy, but I wanted a downside because they're like a little more like a sports car. So I downside, found a good bargain on a downsized canopy, which actually already had a reputation for bad openings. Oh.
Wow.
So anyway, if I get the right, if I get the yes sir, if I get the right gear. And my rigger, who's a dear friend, we've talked about what can we do on the canopy for the toggles such that I can reach them and work them. And so if I get a new gear, I'm coming back, no doubt. Well,
You know what, Curtis?
skydiving, just to make it clear, it is an addiction. Adrenaline is a drug. And don't question it.
I was
But
literally just about to ask you. I was like, "Why do you want to jump out of an airplane so freaking bad?"
Well,
after being
I would
paralyzed.
think if I'm traumatized, if I get paralyzed from skydiving, for example, I would think that I would want to overcome that trauma by doing it again.
That's a little bit of it's an ego thing. I got to prove it. But anyway, the first time I grew up in aviation. My father was a pilot. I'm a pilot. I tell people most of my passengers leave in flight, but that's a different story. But anyway, in survival school, when I went to I worked on AWACS for 5 years. So they send you to survival school, and they send you down to Florida. And they put you on looks like a little barge. It's a boat with a fence here, and they have parachutes. And the objective is it's basically parasailing, if you're familiar with that. So basically they put you in that thing. They got 2 really fast speedboats. And next thing you know, you're up at 300 feet. And the objective is while you're coming down under a standard military parachute, you go through all the parachute checks as you're coming down. Fortunately, you're coming down in the water, so it's not an issue. So anyway, being a pilot, most pilots say, why would you jump out of a perfectly good airplane and under a piece of fabric? Well, that taught me, I couldn't believe how solid I felt in that harness. So I said, well, maybe I could do this shit. And then fast forward to when I got in the reserves and they said, you want to do this? I said, yes, sir.
So that inspired you to start parachuting, going on the barge, and basically parasailing.
Well, I realized that the parachute wasn't any different than any air. It's like an airplane. It's a mechanical device that has its own stability. So in any event, that's what my father, God bless his soul, probably think I was crazy, but that's all right. In any event, yeah, that taught me that these parachute things aren't what everybody thinks they are. So that's what got me here.
That's awesome. That is amazing. Like to hear that you walked in 1 year, right? And you walked in 1 year being paralyzed from the neck down, which is just outstanding. Hats off to you.
Now, and my dear friend Max, do not forget, it took. Well, Patrick was walking and running pretty relatively soon, but it took him 17 years to get to the Ironman. And so his recovery was long and arduous, but it took a lot of work. So that's why we will get to the point where he's a part of all this. He can answer all your questions on how he came along.
That would be amazing. I do have a question for you. So you probably take pride in your resort in Jamaica, right? It's fully ADA compatible, which is like just amazing for a lot of people, especially people in wheelchairs, because there's no place to really go on a vacation. It's hard for us.
One way or another, in spite of my current, what we call lawfare, in spite of my current battle, one way or another, even if it's just a time to get away, airlines and everything are very accommodating when you try to travel. And it's rough to travel, but of course you probably have to have some folks come with you. But anyway, the resort was because of this is intended, because we understand there's this huge. That's why, even though my wife sort of claims that the place isn't doing well, blah blah blah, screw that. I believe that there's a huge market in the handicapped community, and so if we'll get you down there one way or another, even. Because even if you just chill out on the beach for a while, but we'll figure out a way. Because he can still do a standard wheelchair, right?
Yeah. Like a regular wheelchair, I could do it. Yeah, I can do a regular wheelchair.
Yeah, if somebody's pushing you around, that's fine. That's all we need. And now I'm going to tease you a little bit. It's not just the resort. Now this is a little bit of marketing, but what the hell? We have. This was my idea.
Tell the people.
We have a 13-passenger Mercedes Sprinter limo van that will come pick you up at the airport.
Nice.
And by the way, full bar. And yes, there's a stripper pole.
And Max could get in the van in his wheelchair?
He could get in the van, but we stow the wheelchair and get him to the resort.
Blue Skies Beach
Blue
Resort.
Skies. Why is it named that? In the skydiving community, which, by the way, goes back to support in SCI. Blue Skies in my skydiving community has just flooded out in support ever since. Well, of course, it could happen.
You got your friends parachuting down into the resort.
Well, the point is, hold that thought. It's going to happen. So anyway, the skydiving community, because it could happen to any one of them, has been so supportive of me, kept me alive in some respects.
Nice.
So the bottom line is Blue Skies. When you're a skydiver, if you're signing off a text, signing off an email, or even going away, you say Blue Skies, because what does a skydiver want? Blue skies so he can jump.
Clear skies.
So
Nice.
that's Blue Skies Beach Resort. So there's the marketing pitch on Blue Skies. So we'll get there. And that's why, in spite of the drama, in spite of the divorce, I still maintain a vested interest in keeping that resort alive and going well. Patrick Rummerfield has always been my spinal cord injury mentor. And Patrick's, for those of you out there, rummerfield.com is the way to get to his website.
Nice. What's his website primarily about?
Him. Egotistical bastard.
Yeah.
that he is.
And it sounds like this podcast will be a perfect platform.
At least to start out.
for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And there's no doubt. Well, now, he's done all kinds of news interviews and stuff. He went out as a motivational speaker for a
Nice.
while, but
Just hearing your story, man, like it's fascinating, and it's like I want to say it's an inspiration. It is very inspiring. It inspires me to do better and to
Well-
make goals because you got.
well, I got to say,
goals,
I mean,
man.
I'll in the course of developing the resort, I kind of came to a philosophy that says, when in life you have a goal, you have something you want to do, with regard to goal, you have to be very concise and precise about what it looks like. Figure that out, and then each and every day measure just how much closer you got, even if it's only an inch.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's kind of in that from the motivation thing is if, your goal is to walk every day. I am so, you talk about inspired. Coming in here, what was it, how long ago? Over a year.
2019.
2019, I first met Max, and I'm sitting there going, I remember he was just absolutely late, flat on his back on his bed. The best I think he had a little bit of upper strength in the core, but hands didn't work and everything. And I'm looking at you today saying, you know what? This guy's going to get there. You just got to keep fighting. It's not easy.
I mean, it isn't, and I appreciate the support, and I appreciate the compliment, because, I was lost in 2019, man, and I met this guy almost 3 years ago, and we've just been trucking along podcasts and trucking along.
Can't believe how
work.
proud I am. The
Yeah.
whole podcast thing is a stellar idea, given what do you do when you really don't have physical capabilities? Well,
You have
sit
a
down and
voice.
stuff a camera in your face. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Right, and that's the whole point of Life to the Max. Life to the Max is to inspire and motivate people, and
So-
to let them know.
So let me ask a question. What is the what's the response? I mean, how many folks are out there? I mean, you're able to measure how many people are. I would imagine you have to be able to measure how many people are viewing it.
Different platforms. So we got like around 7,000 downloads just from audio, and our YouTube
We just
almost
started.
1,000
Great.
subscribers. Yeah, we just started, and like every day we're getting better and better. Like we're adding more additions. Our production is looking super professional.
I'm impressed.
We're getting more guests, and like I feel like just like your resort has some sentimental value to you, like regardless of what our numbers are.
Right.
Like we love doing this. We love sitting with new people and hearing new stories and getting inspired and motivated and letting those people inspire and motivate others. Like you can't put a price tag on
No,
that.
absolutely. Well, that's why I'm thoroughly impressed. Is that got to keep up the good work? But there was a point I wanted to make on that issue was it'll come to me. But bottom line is that.
I feel like.
Here's the point. There's a Facebook page out there that I've been on for a long time. I've always been intrigued. All these medical studies that are out there and everything. Nobody has ever, and this is a relatively easy study. It's only statistics and get resources. Of all statistically, there is a webpage out there that spinal cord injury statistics, and it tells you basically what the numbers are. There's about 30,000 spinal cord injuries a year. So I'm saying, well, of the 30,000, how many walk in? How many basically get carried into the hospital and then walk out? Nobody can answer that question. So I am close. The statistic I was able to find, there's a website, I forget what the name of it, bottom line is it tells you it's about 30,000 a year. There's a Facebook page called Spinal Cord Injury Walkers, which is basically all of us who have gotten to the point where we can walk on our own.
Yeah.
The lady that runs that's up in Michigan. Every year she tries to hold a little. And anyway, she's a sweetheart. But the bottom line is the Spinal Cord Injuries Walker webpage has about 6,000 subscribers. So it tells you about 6,000 out of 30,000 is the percentage of people that actually wind up walking.
Well, that's our guest list for the podcast, Max. I'm going to go on that website. I'm going to, all right, let's try Rodney over here. And
Bingo.
let's try it.
Yeah, you are right on. You are right on. So, yeah, so that's kind of what I'm saying is that I want to, it amazes me that the medical community doesn't really seem to even care about that number. We do.
I feel like,
It comes down to money. That's what I feel like.
But also, when it comes down to therapy, like they do everything physically, make sure you're physically healthy, but they don't do anything to make sure you're mentally happy.
It's too true, yeah.
And they'll tell you what you have to do to stay healthy, but they don't tell you what you could do to have fun. Mm-hmm. They don't teach quadriplegics how to paint with their mouth or do things.
Well, I'll back up and make a plug for Kennedy Krieger. The International Institute for Spinal Cord Injury has branched out in a number of areas. They take SCI patients sailing and scuba diving. And
Nice.
so they've got these programs that say, get the hell out of that house and go do something. Which I've seen.
That's what they
in
need.
these photos I'm seeing of Max doing all these things, going to the games and stuff, just blows me away because that's what you got to do. Whatever it takes to, like you say, life to the max. I'm 100% enrolled.
This reminds me of a fun fact. When someone's mourning the death of someone, they actually say that it's healthy to be the one. Like, let's say you lose your significant other. The healthiest thing you could do is actually be the one that's coordinating and planning the funeral.
Too true,
Because you stay busy. You keep your mind off the sadness and those intrusive thoughts, and you get everything in order to stay busy, and it really helps with the grieving process. And another thing I wanted to bring up, I want to shout out Trey, Max, when we went to a Dave Chappelle concert, a Dave Chappelle show, and I seen another quadriplegic at the front entrance, and I've always wanted to get another quad on the show for Max.
God, I love it.
And I introduced myself, said what's up, his name's Trey. And he's in the same exact position, paralyzed, neck down, breathing through a machine. And I visited him out in Aurora. And I asked him, I'm like, bro, like what's your dream? What do you want to do? And he stopped, thought about it. And he's like, shit, I don't know. Be on a podcast, I guess.
Well, I like him. Well, I want Trey's information. You can contact him, let him know. I'll get in touch with him. I want to talk to him because I'm not far from Aurora.
Nice.
And
I'll definitely shoot you his number.
Well, the thing is, with regard to that, is what does he want to do? Well, fine, it's hard. It's hard to figure out. But the idea is that along the way in my recovery, one of the things I got to do, I think we drove, I want to say it was up in Michigan, to a concert, and I know looking at your age, but anyway, folks out there will know. One of my favorites is a guy named Jethro Tull. Jethro, Tull. He is a rocker, and he's the only flautist rocker. He plays flute.
No way.
Yeah, and kills it. Well,
Nice.
we went up there, and I had my power chair. I was in the front row. I damn near hurt myself because I was headbanging and kicking and he was so close to me, I could see the hair in his nostrils.
Wow.
So anyway, that's the kind of thing is get out there and do it, even if it's just going to shows.
Stay busy. And this is advice for everyone. It's not even just for people in wheelchairs and injured people. I mean, specifically for people that are going through things, but even people that are totally healthy, got both arms and both legs, we still get mentally weak sometimes, and we still are our own worst enemy.
I'll tell you a story that's Max will appreciate in the sense that at one point I was in my power chair. We were at a shopping mall in Bolingbrook called the Promenade. And it's cold out, I'm all bundled up, and I'm driving along, and this couple was in front of us. And the guy kind of turned to me, "Hey, I'm walking here." I thought my wife was going to kill him because that's what we experienced. Here we are.
Full circle. That's
Sounds like you had a bounty hunter for a wife.
Paralyzed notwithstanding, I damn near came out of the chair.
That's what I say all the time. Don't make me get out of this fucking chair. I'll beat you.
Our next MMA champion here.
So Curtis, you told us your story. It's like beyond amazing. And gives me a lot of motivation. Really does. What's next for you?
What next for me is, get through this whole silly divorce drama, see how that plays out, see what I end up with. That's, but certainly next, like I said, I'd like to shoot for July 7th, but I may shoot for my birthday, which is September 28th. I might be able to get put together some borrowed gear to do my recurrency jump and come back.
Nice.
Well, how about this? How about me and Eric set up a GoFundMe for you? And we say it's from the Life to the Max podcast, and we'll give your entire story. And we'll try to shoot for July 7th, your anniversary.
You're awesome. Wow.
So you can definitely
I'll talk
fly in the sky.
I'll talk to my rigger. And of course, you'll have to come out and see it. It will be at Skydive Chicago and outside in Ottawa. And so I we've had kind of a falling out with the ownership there, but that doesn't matter. I'll suck up my pride and say, and the good news is I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do some tunnel jumps, and I'm going to do some 2 or 3 tandems. And there's a gentleman who wants to be part of when I open my drop zone in Jamaica. His name is Chad, very religious young man, sweet kid, tandem instructor. And so, you know what, Chad, I'm coming out. We'll do some tandems. You're going to do some coach jumps, and I'm going to come back.
Nice.
And so when that time comes, we will make that happen. But anyway, I could use the help because it's, just to put a number on it, it's about right around $10,000 to $15,000 worth of gear. But and then of course you have to. The problem is there's a lead time to get it in. So yeah, I just basically it's to prove to the world that you can get over this thing.
Yeah.
And get back to your normal. Yeah. I don't know how many people say being a skydiver is a normal life, but I want to get back to my normal life. Well, you asked earlier, so why would you do that? Why do you want to jump out of a perfectly good airplane? Well, our response is there aren't any.
Yeah.
I've been in aviation all my life. I haven't found that perfectly good airplane yet.
That's
so
funny.
Given that, if get all equipped to go do it, then they would be just awesome because, I want people to know you can get your life back. Takes a lot of hard work. So does Patrick know that. So definitely we'll get Patrick with you. Kirk? Oh, one other plug. Kirk Smith is my parachute rigger. He's also a certified parachute trainer, rigger trainer, blah, blah, blah. He's been in the business forever. So he has a good history too. But Kirk and I, in 2005, dropped a Jeep Commander from the sky
Wow.
under 3 canopies. I'll make sure I send you the video. But anyway, the Jeep Commander is just a new vehicle at the time, but they were involved. You may be familiar with, there's an organization called Operation Gratitude, sends goodie baskets to troops in the field, and they were doing this as a promotion, and said, well, they wanted us to do it in Chicago. That wasn't going to happen. We're not put it out at C-130, and it just can't happen. So we figured out they'd use 2 heavy lift helicopters, one of them for the load with the Jeep. I had to go out. This is right at the front end of a shooting war. Had to find the parachutes, find the platform, and all the rigging and everything for us. So we did. We had 44 days to get it done. So we did 3 practice drops at Skydive Chicago, and then we did 1 practice jump in near Detroit. It was the Chelsea Provy grounds for Chrysler. And so the idea, 2 helicopters, we had 7 skydivers in the 1 helicopter and the Jeep. Basically suspended the Jeep from the parachutes, released it, skydivers jumped out, and they had banner flags they were flying, circled the load. When it landed, they had to cut the Jeep loose. And the key it's a 7-passenger jump. So 7 skydivers. Fortunately, we had 1 woman and 1 really small guy to fit in the thing, and they drive it up to the reviewing stand. So anyway, I'll make sure you have that video.
That's crazy.
That's my claim to fame. That's my parachuting claim to fame.
That's wild.
Well, the
the
company that hired us used the term I had never heard it before, guerrilla marketing. When you create an event that is so significant that all the news has to cover it. Mm-hmm. Well, in this case, wasn't a lot of coverage, but ESPN made us. They used to have the ESPN top 10 of the day. We were number 3.
Nice.
So that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, it's been amazing having you on the podcast, and you're definitely welcome back. Your story is inspiring. Your story is motivating to so many people.
Frankly, my friend, so is yours. I mean, the transformation I've seen just since I saw you last is phenomenal, and you are getting there. And I can't say it's going to be easy, but you're going to. I said in the beginning, 98% mental. The rest, the physical, you get over. And if you got the mental thing you're doing, I believe you have that.
Thank you, Curtis. I appreciate that. So, well, everybody, this has been on our episode of Life to the Max. Please like and subscribe, and please comment so we can hear what you have to say. We have a YouTube channel, Life to the Max
All right.
podcast.
That's it. You got me crying.
And this has been Curtis's episode. Curtis, can you please look into that camera and tell yourself that you are living life to the max?
Say your name and say you're living life to the max, and maybe if you want optional, leave a message for the people before we conclude this episode.
Well, I'll do that, but I don't mind. I tell people my life is truly an open book. So here's the deal. My name is Curtis Grant Kmiecek. Anyway, my point is my email is Curtis Kmiecek, CurtisKmiecek @AOL.com. My cell phone, which grabs text and all that, is 815-713-89er. Gotta talk like a pilot. 89er41. Double check that. 89er41. So any of you out there, if you're suffering from this, I will talk to you any time of the day, night, with specific, given what we have with so many vets finishing themselves off every day. I talked to Patrick Rummerfield if he had ever considered suicide. Well, he admitted yes, frequently. I, of course, I've danced with it, but fortunately I have kids and grandchildren I won't do that to. Bottom line is, if you're that far down, call me or email me or text me, because I will be here for that. 4 a.m. if it takes, because I understand where we get. Mm-hmm. And if you get there, come on down and talk to me.
Nice.
You're about to get flooded.
That's I'm all over it.
The world needs more people like you.
Well, see, we're all in the same game, so we just gotta take care of each other. That's what it comes down to.
That's very sweet. Man.
Life to the max. Absolutely, I love the name. Great, got it nailed.